Hi Marko. You're making
Hi,
this.
Igor.
This is the first episode of Guid.New Fireside Chats, and this is the Dev-Edition. So for all of you who are watching this for the first time, let me tell you what is it about. Like at Guid.New, the company, we are definitely passionate about software development and everything what comes with it. And over the years, we gained a lot of experience, concrete experience, which we would like to share somehow with the community. On all of the topics, we will always have some interesting guests and simply discuss the things at the fireside. At the moment, it's going to be virtual only. So Marko is at his place and I'm at my place, and there is no fireside, next to us. But try to imagine it. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for this very first episode of the series. And today we are going to talk about C#9. Before I explain what the topic is about, I would just like Marko to introduce himself and what connects it actually to the overall topic.
Hi, my name is Marko Lohert. I'm working as a senior software developer in Ecobit, in Croatian's company. Have been working for around 15 years. I would like to say that I'm passionate about software development. I've been talking about C# a few times. Also volunteering with kids, playing around with robotics, programming, and such things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Marko,
Okay.
this was a very modest introduction. Or you want to say something else? Or
No. Well, thank you.
This is a very modest introduction. I've been speaking about C# a couple of times. So Marko is very well-known speaker on local conferences, and C# is one of his expertise for the past couple of years. Also had a chance to watch his talks, and they were all excellent, definitely. So if you're looking for a C# expert, Marko is definitely one of them. Yeah.
Well,
I guess,
thank you.
yeah, that's why we're having you here. Also, and from my side, yeah, definitely interesting C# as well. So I'm a moderator for the Awesome Roseland list, where I follow closely what's going on, like with the C# compiler and what kind of things people do with the compiler as API. So just check it on GitHub, Awesome Roseland, and also I'm developing one Visual Studio extension which helps developer to learn C# faster and also to refactor their code to modern C#. It's called Sharpen. So I could definitely say like that the C# is my passion as well. So we are going to talk today about C#9 and to which extent is actually already used in our projects, and also what do we like about it, what not. By chance, Marko and I, we had a talk on one meetup in Banja Lukas. Here I'm saying hi to Miroslav and everyone who invited us. And at the end of the talk, there were plenty of excellent questions, like really good questions. And they all went into the direction of, okay, nice, but where we can use this feature? Like, can you tell us a bit more about how to use them in a real life projects? Yeah. And so we decided to discuss this in a bit more detail because the talk wasn't in English, it was in Ashki, so it was, let's say, for a narrower audience because of a language barrier. So, Marko, out of those questions, I hope you still remember them. Which of them you found interesting and which of them you would like to comment on first? Go ahead.
Well, the thing I liked about questions in general, about those questions, is they were practical. As you said, they were about using C# in practical projects. They were talking about using it with Entity Framework, using it with other ORMs, with such tools. There were quite a number of questions regarding records. When can they be used? How can they be used? Class and records. It's interesting to see when should we use class and when should we use records. So among all those questions, what's your favorite? Which one would you like to start?
So for me, the one actually I researched before and I was expecting somehow was the question how all this new stuff plays with ORMs. At the time we were giving the talk, there wasn't much about it. So I did an experiment on my own, and so I can just assure you, like the records as a new feature, they work nicely with ORMs, which is also something I expected considering how they're implemented in the background. Let's say as a classes with some special features. So this works fine in terms of not only with for example entity framework, but also with ASP.NET. Like if you have a model which is a record, the model binders will work properly automatically. So these kind of things, let's say, they work. Yeah. But the interesting question for me is, Marko, for you, did you have a chance to use them like in real life projects or in examples to instead of classes? Like where do you see them?
Where do I see them? Well, there are areas where records will be used. In the example we have used in the talk in Banja Luka, we had an application, demo application that used a number of data transfer objects. DTOs, for me, are very nice place where we can use records instead of classes. Why? Data transfer objects, by its nature, are not changing so much. They are mainly used to transfer data from one side to another. And records are immutable. And that makes them perfect for places where we don't need to change data. We need only to move them around. Well, there is a possibility to change a record, but we need to actually create a new record and change only one property of that old record.
So DTOs. Here I have to say, recently, actually a week ago, I've started working on a project, a new one, and it's like C#9. I'm like putting it on the edge to see what's really can be done with it and what's not. And I have to say, for the records, exactly for this experience, as for these examples, when you are you need the data, like object that literally represent the data. It's perfect. Positional records, like that single line, it's perfect. I try to put it a bit on the edge, like I try to work with records that, like implement certain interfaces and have a hierarchy, very like flat hierarchy of like, let's say 2 levels, and I didn't like it. So I have to say in that direction, as soon as you cross that border to where I need some complexity or behavior, I still find classes much easier to use. I had a feeling that I'm writing boilerplate code. You remember if you have a record and then a derived record, you have to again specify the elements from the base record. It hurts. Not the best thing to do. But for DTOs, as you said, it's perfect.
Yeah. From my experience also, and if you have a record with more than 2, 3, 4, 5 properties, and you inherit that record, you're getting more and more properties, and that line gets pretty long. Yeah. And you have to repeat it again and again. So that's probably not the best place to use records. No. Classes will survive. Perhaps we should say that we should answer the question, will records become something that will be used instead of classes? I don't think so. I believe that classes and records will be used, and from my feeling is that at least in few first years, we will be using classes more than records. Yeah, records are something new, but there are many places when classes are better than records.
Definitely, both concepts have their place. A lot of questions went in the direction of domain-driven design and so on, and the conclusion was that records were really a good fit for value types. Yeah, definitely. Good, but the records were not the only feature in C#9. Let's move and tackle the others. So, did you have a chance to use some of the other features, and are there some which you really find as natural that they're coming? I have my favorites here as well, but I would like to hear you.
Well, when you say what is natural to me in the new features in C#9, well, the first thing that comes to mind is new operator. Target type new operator. It feels natural. Just type a class, name of the object, and equals new, and that's it. After using it for a while, it just became so natural to me. I don't have to think about it, just use it.
Here I have to say it's also to come back to this project, which is a week old and really a lot of C#9 inside. This is the feature I like. It turns out by chance, for example, that I have a lot of classes which have fields which are, for example, dictionaries, and they're like dictionaries, hash tables, and so on. And then just the fact that you can initialize them without repeating that, like long sentence. It's really like, it's definitely a nice feature. One of those I like. Yeah, for sure.
Well, especially if you have a dictionary that contains another list or something that like complicated, let's say something that's long to write, it's much easier to use new. And when compared to the old var keyword, well, there can be used also, var keywords can be used also to type less.
Simplify.
We can type less to simplify something, but they're not the same as the target type, the new keyword. Because target type new keyword can be used on more places. It can be used as a property or as a class field, where old, I'm calling it old, var keyword can be used only as a local variable inside a method.
Yeah, and by the way, to go into this direction, var versus target type. Oh no, the internet community, it's full of that. There was a nice tweet saying, hey, they developed so much useful thing in C#9, and what people are bragging about is, are they going to use var or target type new? So please, for everyone listening to this, don't go into those discussions. Use both where it makes sense. Definitely. Coming to that of type inference, actually, there is one small feature in C#9 which is not often told about, which I personally like. So in the conditional operator, I really love that one. In the conditional operator, if you no, this is difficult to explain without the code, but if you're assigning the result to a variable of a certain type, and on both sides of the conditional expression, you do not have that type explicitly. Before you had to cast, although it was obvious. This was a feature, this was something in a language, a lack of a feature in language, which it always went on my nerves, because by chance, especially in Sharp, and I have to write a lot of code like that, and that additional cost was always like, why do I have to do that? The compiler should be able to understand it. And I have to say, thanks to the Roslyn team, they finally put it in C#9.
Yeah, that's a conditional operator, ternary on the operator that used to write conditions in a shorter form. And why would then you need to use another cast just to use the ternary operator?
Yeah. I hope that this direction into going more and more to type inference and having in other places where it's obvious what a type is, that it will start coming more into the language. After a bit of F# experience a couple of years ago, I really have to say it's beautiful. Like to write a code where you know that the compiler takes over the stuff which is obvious. Yeah. Question: What about pattern matching? Did you have a chance to use pattern matching a bit?
Yeah, I've used it, played with it, and I have just remembered pattern matching when you started to talk about F#. Because pattern matching is something that was so much used in F#, and C# is gaining momentum, is catching up and using pattern matching more and more. For me personally, it makes code more elegant, more easily to understand. I don't know, would you agree that it's for everyone? That everyone would say that it's more elegant, but yeah, it's making code nicer for me. There are a few new things in pattern matching. We can use greater or, smaller or to make some conditions that would make code more easily to read.
To your question, do you find it more elegant or not? I have to be honest. Your example, which we used in the talk, where you remove ifs, like the chain of if else's, and replace it with a switch case with those lower than end and so on. I was using it as a code which is definitely not intuitive and difficult to read. But it's just a matter of like this, gaining the first idea what is it? I think once when you see it and get accustomed to it, it is definitely very elegant. Like the replacement of switch statement, which with the switch expression, is for me definitely something which brings clarity to the language. And some of the new pattern matching can do the same. Definitely can do the same. So. I see up to now I didn't have a chance to use it much. Switch expressions are C#8, so they don't count anymore as a new thing. But
Yeah.
these new features of C#9, at the moment I don't have let's say hands-on experience of them, but I do expect to see them in a code which will be more readable. Definitely.
I have talked to a number of colleagues who have experience with F#, and I see that people who have experience with F# are more keen to using pattern matching in C#. It's more natural for them. And the colleagues who have not so much experience with F#, they think twice before using pattern matching.
Yeah, it's I would say a general rule. Yeah, good. Marko, we said that we will talk for about like let's say 20-25 minutes, and we are already there somehow. The time passes. I think about C# in general and C#9. We could talk for hours. Two of you, the two of us definitely. I remember when we were preparing the talk, we also had these sessions. We were, oh wow, this is cool and that cool, and how can we present this and that? So that definitely having an hour wouldn't be enough. But let's close it shortly. For me, it was like really. Just wanted to hear from you now, a couple of months after the release. How do you see it, and how do you see the features? Is there anything else you would like to give us, let's say, as one of the final thought, or maybe you have something to ask me?
My final thought. Well, I would say that C#9 as a version was a step in the right direction. The records came. This is a version where we get records after a long time. I have heard even before C#8, C#7 that Microsoft was working on adding records to C#, but it takes time. It's not a small feature, and the language has to be robust enough to handle these new features. It takes a lot of planning and fine-tuning to add such a big feature to a language.
It was a long await feature, definitely. Like starting from C#7, and one of those I was rooting for. So for me, discriminated union and definitely like records and immutability are like must-haves. So I'm happy to have records like this. There's still a few things which I don't see as optimal with records, but I'm one of those happy with that the things are there. Yeah. For those which are.
Well, as far as I see, Microsoft is adding things to C# in steps. So we had something, let's take, for example, pattern matching. First time we saw it in C#7. C#8 brings some new things, and now we are getting even more pattern matching. So I believe that C#10 will bring something new to pattern matching. This is not the end of the story concerning records. C#10 will bring something new to records.
Yeah, I'm sure about that as well. Yeah. And yeah, speaking about this new C#10, C#8, and bringing features, one of the topics I'm very, very keen about is the using all these features on previous, like officially not supported versions of framework. Do you have any experience with that? Okay, I said let's stop at 25 minutes, but I'm really curious. Did you ever try that? Like really to use language features on the versions of framework which are not officially supported, or what's your general opinion about that?
Well, I haven't tried using it on some other version of .NET Framework. Well, maybe you have. Maybe you have some experience with that. Well, I also believe that we should move with a new version of .NET Framework, move to a new version of .NET Framework, because with C#9 at the same time we got .NET 5, and that's a big step in a .NET Framework world. We are combining two branches, .NET Framework, the old big .NET Framework, and .NET Core into a single .NET, just simply .NET.
That's a nice talk. I like it. Like let's move with the flow. I'm all for that. Like a lot of my projects are modernization projects. I love them. I also teach my customers really that renewing the software should be a natural thing, definitely. But there are a lot of softwares which simply cannot renew. To give a concrete example, Sharpen, the Visual Studio extensions I develop, I'm bound to Visual Studio. So it's never going to be, or hopefully, who knows? Let's say there's also a funny tweet on that topic. Like that 40 years from now, Visual Studio will still be on .NET Classic 4.8, if we're lucky. But there, I'm bound to a particular version of framework I cannot choose. But still, I'm the one who is taking that risk. So, for example, I developed Sharpen using the newest language version. And also, I'm aware of the features which can be used, which cannot be used. This is something also I love to teach other programmers, because I see the benefits. So the benefits, especially for example, nullable reference types in C#8 or the records we're discussing now, and most of those features can be used safely. Yeah, and there are some which are. Where the safety net is, has to be put also cast properly. But I'm for that. So I have plenty of experience with that, and also for C#9, like for init properties, you have to do a bit of hacking, but the rest of the things simply, let's say, works. Yeah. Also on the previous versions of the .NET framework. Good, but. Let's rather not open that big topic. Also, I would like to invite you, all of you watching, if you have any questions, just please feel free to write them in the comments or to contact any of us directly. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions regarding C#, if you have any questions regarding software modernization, that's where we are at Guid.New. We are expert for. So just feel free to contact us or to ask questions in the comments. Like in such a short time, it's definitely not easy, not possible to discuss all of the things which C#9 brings. Yeah, good. Marko. Yeah. Thanks for being our first guest.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Well, it was great. Time really flew. I don't believe it was 20 minutes.
Trust me, it was 30.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels like 10 minutes.
To me as well. That's because we're talking about C#. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, and I'm hoping to have another one like talks like we had, like doing it together with you. Also, it was really a big pleasure. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm also hoping.
Thanks, Marko, and thanks everyone for watching. As I said, please feel free to ask questions in the comments, and also follow us for the next episode of Guid.New Fireside Chats.